Hi everyone, my name is Richard Young, the creator of this cartoon. I'm not trying to adhere to any particular political ideology, but I am probably a little bit right of center in my thinking. With artificial intelligence providing the artistic talent, something I lack, I've been able to put my thoughts and ideas into these political cartoons. If you find this interesting, I would appreciate you subscribing to this channel, liking the video, and even sharing it with your friends. Today's cartoon depicts President Trump as a Roman emperor surrounded by figures who once supported him. The caption above his head reads, "A two Tucker?" echoing Caesar's famous final words upon recognizing Brutus among his assassins. Surrounding him are six figures, each holding something that represents how they have broken with him. Each of these figures was once a prominent supporter of President Trump. Each, over the course of his second term, has publicly broken with him. The cartoon depicts the loneliness of that moment, a leader who, by his own personality and choices, finds himself surrounded by former allies who have become critics. The A2 Tucker line is the cartoon's emotional center. Let me explain why. Julius Caesar was the most powerful man in Rome. He had crossed the Rubicon, defeated his rivals, and accumulated authority unprecedented in Roman history. On the Ides of March in 44 BC, he was assassinated by a group of senators who feared he was destroying the Roman Republic. According to Shakespeare's dramatization, Caesar fought back against his attackers until he saw Marcus Junius Brutus, his friend, his protege, the man he had spared in an earlier civil war and treated almost as a son. Among the conspirators at that moment, Caesar gave up. "Et tu, Brute," he said, and then he fell. The line has lasted for 2,000 years because it captures something specific that simpler concepts of betrayal don't capture. It is the moment when a leader recognizes that the person he most trusted, the person he believed was on his side regardless of circumstances, has joined those who are bringing him down. The pain in the line is not just political, it's personal. It is the recognition that no relationship was as secure as a leader believed it to be. In the cartoon, I've substituted Tucker for Brute. Tucker Carlson is depicted holding a tablet representing the Tucker Carlson Network, the platform he built after leaving Fox News, and the platform from which he has issued some of the harshest critiques of Trump's second term, particularly on Iran. Carlson spoke at the 2024 Republican National Convention. He sat with Trump at the convention. He hosted Trump on his speaking tour. He was at the White House just days before the February 2026 strikes on Iran. And then, on the day of the strikes, he called them, quote, "absolutely disgusting and evil," unquote. A few months later on his podcast, he intimated that Trump might be the Antichrist. The break between Trump and Carlson is the most dramatic of any depicted in the cartoon because Carlson was the figure most identified with the populist conservative movement that brought Trump to power. If anyone embodied the MAGA movement's intellectual energy outside of Trump himself, it was Carlson. To lose Carlson is to lose something deeper than just a media ally. It is to lose someone who helped define what MAGA was supposed to be. Now, let me describe the other figures because each represents a different dimension of the fracture. Mike Pence served as Trump's vice president for 4 years. He stood by Trump through controversies that would have led most running mates to publicly distance themselves. The break came on January 6, when Pence refused to use his ceremonial role as president of the Senate to interfere with the certification of the 2020 election. Trump publicly attacked Pence as crowds at the Capitol chanted for his hanging. Pence later said that Trump's actions, quote, "endangered me and my family and everyone at the Capitol that day," unquote. More recently, Pence has criticized Trump's foreign policy decisions and warned that the administration is putting the country at risk. The newspaper in his hands captures the substance of that critique. Bill Barr was Trump's Attorney General from 2019 to 2020. He was widely seen as a defender of the administration's interests at the Justice Department, including on contested matters relating to investigations of Trump associates. The break came after Barr publicly disputed Trump's claims of election fraud, telling the Associated Press in December 2020 that the Justice Department had found no evidence of fraud sufficient to change the outcome. Barr resigned shortly afterward. He has since written and spoken about rule of law concerns regarding Trump's approach to executive power. The book in his hands names that concern directly. John Bolton served as National Security Advisor in 2018 and 2019. He resigned in disagreement over multiple foreign policy decisions. He has since become one of the administration's most persistent critics, particularly on questions of foreign policy competence. His notepad listing Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea, and Russia represents a critique that comes from inside the room, from someone who saw decisions being made and concluded they were not being made well. Candace Owens has been an unusual case. She was a prominent conservative media figure and Trump supporter for years. Her break with Trump has been driven primarily by foreign policy, particularly Iran, and has escalated to the point where she has called for Trump's removal under the 25th Amendment. The phone in her hand displaying, quote, "You're wrong," unquote, represents that confrontational mode. Owens is the youngest of the figures depicted, and her break suggests that the fracture is not limited to older Republican voices. Ann Coulter has been more nuanced in her critiques. She was one of the earliest Trump supporters in his 2016 campaign and was instrumental in building intellectual respectability for his immigration positions. Her break has been gradual and topic by topic, beginning with immigration enforcement she considered constitutionally problematic, and extending through the Iran war to broader concerns about Trump's judgment. The book in her hands, quote, "In Trump We Never Trust," unquote, represents the disillusionment of someone who took Trump's promises seriously enough to be disappointed when they were not kept in the way she expected. 6 figures, 6 different reasons for breaking, but all 6 are now critics rather than supporters. There's a pattern across these breaks worth naming. 3 of the 6, Carlson, Owens, and Coulter, broke specifically over the Iran war. The Iran war has done something distinctive to the MAGA coalition that previous controversies didn't. The original Trump appeal included a populist anti-war position, a critique of forever wars in the Middle East, a promise to put American interests first by avoiding foreign entanglements. The Iran war contradicted that promise directly. Some of Trump's most committed supporters could not follow him into that contradiction. The other 3 breaks, Pence, Barr, and Bolton, share a different theme. Each of them, in different ways, broke over the relationship between the administration and constitutional and legal constraints. Pence over the certification of an election, Barr over the duty of the Justice Department to follow evidence, Bolton over the conduct of foreign policy through established processes. All 3 were institutional men who found Trump's approach to institutions ultimately unsupportable. Both patterns are real, and both reveal something about the limits of the coalition Trump built. Now, I want to address the cartoon's broader argument because the visual is doing something more than just listing departed supporters. The Caesar imagery places Trump in a particular historical moment. Caesar was assassinated because his accumulation of personal power threatened the republic. Whether you read the assassins as tyrannicides protecting Roman liberty or as ambitious senators acting from their own motives depends on your historical perspective. But the structural situation is what the cartoon captures. A leader of unusual personal magnetism who built a movement around his own person and whose movement begins to fracture when he takes actions his supporters cannot defend. The jester sings a song, the lyrics of which are about isolation, the realization that the protagonist is alone in a way he did not expect to be. Placing this song at Trump's feet in the cartoon suggests that the political isolation depicted is also psychological. The cartoon is not just observing that Trump has lost supporters, it is suggesting that he is, in some real sense, alone in a way he did not anticipate when he won the presidency. The Washington Post headline, "Trump's Legacy in Question," captures the historical stakes. Trump's place in American history is genuinely uncertain at this point. He may be remembered as the leader who fundamentally transformed American politics in lasting ways. He may be remembered as the figure whose movement could not survive his own contradictions. Which judgment ultimately prevails depends on what happens next and on whether the fractures the cartoon depicts deepen or heal. The pattern of breaks across these six figures is not just personal turnover or political opportunism. It is the visible erosion of a coalition that once seemed unshakable. Each of these figures supported Trump because they believed his promises represented something they wanted for the country. Each of them, over time and through specific events, has concluded that what they got was not what they were promised. That is the cartoon's actual editorial argument. Not that Trump is doomed or that his presidency has failed, but that something real has happened, that promises have been broken in ways that prominent supporters cannot or will not defend, and that the political consequences of those broken promises are visible in the figures who now surround him, not as allies, but as critics. What do you think? Do these breaks represent legitimate criticism of an administration that has departed from its promises? Or are they political opportunism by figures positioning themselves for life after Trump? Let me know in the comments.